Sometime after 1 in the morning, deep in a Panamanian cloud forest, someone switched on a camera. Over the next few hours, it recorded roughly 100 photographs, flash after flash into total darkness. Wet leaves, belongings arranged on rocks, a plastic bag, a mirror, and in one frame, the back of a young woman's head. The camera belonged to two Dutch students who had vanished a week earlier on a marked hiking trail, and when investigators recovered it, they found something stranger than any picture on it. Between the last photograph taken in daylight, frame 508, and the first photograph taken in the dark, frame 510, one photo is missing. One photo is missing. And more than a decade later, no one can explain the night that camera recorded or what happened between those two frames. This is never found, where the record ends and the questions begin. By the end of this file, you'll know the verified timeline, the 10 days of phone activity, the backpack, and the night photos themselves, and exactly where every explanation breaks down. Stay with me. Kris Kremers is 21. Lisanne Froon is 22. Two friends from Amersfoort in the Netherlands who spent 6 months planning the trip of their lives. 6 weeks in Panama, part vacation, part volunteering, teaching children arts and crafts, learning Spanish. They'd saved for it, worked for it, and by late March 2014 they were settled with a host family in Boquete, a mountain town near the Baru volcano, surrounded by cloud forest. By all accounts, they were careful, happy, and exactly where they wanted to be. On the morning of April 1st, they set out to do something thousands of visitors do every year, hike a local trail called El Pianista. They took the host family's dog, they took a small backpack, water, a camera, and their phones. It was a clear morning. They waved goodbye at 11 a.m., and they were never seen again. The El Pianista Trail climbs for about 3 hours through farmland and forest, up to a ridge on the Continental Divide, a viewpoint called the Mirador. The camera tells the story of that morning better than any witness could. Photo after photo of two friends in good spirits, smiling on the path, posing at the summit with green ridges rolling away into mist behind them. For most hikers, the Mirador is the destination. You reach the top, you take your pictures, you turn around. The camera shows they didn't turn around. The final daylight photographs put Kris and Lisanne on the far side of the divide, heading down, away from Boquete, into the wilderness beyond the ridge. The last one, frame 508, is taken near a small stream past the summit. It is completely ordinary. Nothing in it suggests fear or trouble or anyone else. It is the last confirmed image of either of them. That evening, the host family's dog came home, alone. Here is where this case separates itself from almost every other disappearance, because for what happened next, we have a record. 2 records, the phones. That same afternoon, within hours of that final, ordinary photograph, the phones began trying to call for help. Kris's iPhone and Lisanne's Samsung, attempting to reach emergency numbers. 112. The Dutch standard. 911, the local one. The calls didn't go through. In the canyons behind the divide, there is virtually no signal, and so a pattern begins that investigators would later reconstruct minute by minute. The phones switch on, try to reach the outside world, and switch off again, conserving battery. Over the days that follow, this repeats, morning after morning. By some accounts, a single attempt connected for only a moment before dropping. Every other call died in silence. Think about what that log means. Whatever happened on that trail happened fast, on day 1, within hours of a smiling photograph. And whoever held those phones was alive and thinking clearly enough to ration the battery. On April 2nd, Kris and Lisanne missed an appointment with a local guide, and the alarm was raised. Helicopters flew the ridgeline. Search teams worked the trail. Dogs were brought in. In the days that followed, the families flew in from the Netherlands, bringing Dutch detectives with them. A reward was posted. The searchers faced one of the hardest environments on Earth: steep canyons, rivers swollen with rain, forests so dense a person can vanish 10 meters off a path. Day after day, they found nothing. Not a footprint, not a piece of clothing, not a signal fire. And all the while, though no one knew it yet, the phones kept switching on, kept trying. Somewhere out there, past the divide, someone was alive. The search found nothing, but the strangest evidence in this case wasn't found in the jungle at all. It was handed in 10 weeks later inside a backpack. In mid-June, a local woman from a settlement on the far side of the divide turned in a blue backpack she'd reportedly found along the bank of a river. Inside, 2 phones, a camera, cash, personal belongings. Reportedly in strikingly good condition for something that had spent weeks in a rain-soaked jungle, a detail that immediately split opinion and never stopped splitting it. Investigators went first to the phones, and the phones gave up their log. Day 1, emergency calls, hours after the last photo. Days 2 through 5, repeated attempts, on-off cycles, batteries carefully rationed. April 6th, something changes. The iPhone is switched on, and someone tries to unlock it with the wrong pin, again and again. The phone that Kris had used every day suddenly locked to whoever was holding it. And then April 11th, day 11. The iPhone powers on one final time. It stays on for 64 minutes. The pin is never entered. Then it powers off, the deliberate act of someone still trying to save battery. It never came on again. For 10 days, someone kept trying, and then the record just stops. But the phones were only half of what the backpack held. The camera held the rest. The first files were exactly what you'd expect. The happy photos of April 1st, ending with frame 508 by the stream. Then a gap of a week. And then, in the early hours of April 8th, between roughly 1 and 4 a.m., the camera comes alive and takes somewhere near 100 photographs into pitch darkness. The flash illuminates fragments, dense, wet vegetation, rocks, what may be twigs and plastic arranged on the ground, candy wrappers, a mirror, the back of what appears to be Kris's head. Most frames show almost nothing at all. Black, rain, leaves caught mid-flash. 90 flashes in the dark, and no one has ever agreed on why. Some see a distress signal, the camera flash used as a strobe, the brightest light 2 stranded people had, fired into the dark toward anyone who might see it. Others see an attempt to light up terrain or to mark a position, and others see something they can't explain at all. And then there is frame 509, the photo between the daylight and the dark. It isn't corrupted. It isn't blank. It is simply gone from the numbering. And experts have argued ever since about whether it was deleted on the camera, lost to a technical fault, or removed by someone. The one frame that might have explained the gap between an ordinary afternoon and a desperate night is the one frame that doesn't exist. In the weeks after the backpack surfaced, searchers recovered a small number of human remains along the river system on the far side of the divide. DNA testing confirmed what the families had feared. They belonged to Kris and Lisanne. I'm going to leave the forensic details in the file where they belong, out of respect. What matters for the record is this. The remains were few, scattered, and their condition became yet another point of dispute. Forensic experts reportedly disagreed about what they showed. Dutch and Panamanian investigators did not always read the evidence the same way, and Panamanian authorities, to this day, have never classified this case as a homicide because, they say, there is no direct evidence of one. The families buried their daughters. The questions stayed above ground. The leading explanations stated neutrally. 1. They got lost. The official reconstruction, supported by later independent researchers, holds that Kris and Lisanne continued past the Mirador, as some hikers do, went too far down the wrong side, and could not find their way back. A fall, an injury, rising rivers, 11 days of exposure in terrain that has killed experienced locals. It explains the immediate emergency calls. It explains the battery rationing. It struggles, for some, with a simpler objection. This was a known trail, walked regularly. How do two people remain unfound for 11 days, alive, with no one crossing their path? 2. Someone else was involved. Critics of the investigation point to the backpack's reported condition, the disputed forensics, a search they consider inadequate, and locals they consider under-questioned. It's a theory that has circulated in Boquete itself since 14. It has never produced a suspect, a motive, or direct physical evidence, and the authorities have never endorsed it. 3. The hybrid. An accident early on, perhaps a fall near that last stream, leaving one injured and one increasingly alone, doing everything right. Calling, rationing, signaling with the only light she had. It fits the phone log with painful precision. It cannot explain frame 509, and it doesn't have to because nothing does. So here is the file as it exists. Known, 2 capable young women walked a marked trail in daylight and kept going past the summit. Within hours, their phones were calling for help. For 10 days, someone rationed those batteries and kept trying. A week in, their camera fired roughly 100 flashes into the dark. Their backpack came back. They did not. Unknown what happened in the hours after frame 508, why the pin went wrong on day 6, what the night photos were for, what frame 509 showed, and whether anyone else was ever on that mountain with them. So I'll leave it with you. The night photos. Distress signal or something else? And frame 509, accident or intent? Tell me below. The searches ended. The questions didn't. Kris and Lisanne deserved answers. What they got was a file, and this one closes the way too many do. Never found. If you want the case this one is most often compared to, 5 men, a working car, and a mountain in the snow, that file is on screen now. Until then, stay curious and stay safe.